Hello, welcome. I'm going to cover the Naval Rebalance. I'm a Navy guy. I've done a decent amount of naval testing. I did a couple guides for it. I'm going to just go through the major points of the Naval Rebalance. There have also been some changes to air. I'll just give you the brief summary. You guys can read it if you'd like. One, air wings are going to be only sizes of 100. So all that testing for air wing sizes I did was useless. Or maybe the changes are because of that testing. I don't know. And then two, airplanes are no longer going to teleport. They actually have to travel to their air region, so you can try and intercept them along the way, which is great. That is how it worked in Hearts of Iron 3. Amazing. But what we're really here for is the Naval Rebalance. They're changing the system for three reasons. One, good ship design is unintuitive. Combat revolves around exploiting an oversight. We'll get to that. And an ahistorical meta. Both of these are largely the same point. They want to make the design process clearer, meta based upon good structure and multiple key values, and making historical choices work well in the game. They're hitting a lot of things. Tech tree, they're just splitting into two halves, and then cruiser and battleship armor got combined. And then also the ammunition tech is no longer separate. You have to do it to progress to the next level, which is fine. They've reduced the base cost of these. So like the shells, the base cost is as if you'd spent the XP to get the boost. You can't use the XP for boost anymore, but they've reduced all the costs. One thing you can see right here is they have added in more dual purpose guns and more dual purpose batteries. The new dual purpose guns, I don't know if they're worth it or not. The regular secondary battery 2 has 7 piercing, 4 light attack, and minus 3% speed. The AA variant has 4 piercing, 3 light attack, 2 air attack, minus 1% speed, and it's also slightly cheaper. You're losing out on 1 light attack, you're losing out on 3 piercing, which can end up being even more than that, but you're also not slowing yourself down as much. It might be worthwhile. Maybe. The dual purpose main battery guns that you can put on your destroyers were never worthwhile to start with. And unless they've buffed them significantly, and I don't see much of a buff here, they're still not going to be worthwhile. Your destroyers, you're still going to, generally speaking, just want the lowest level gun you have. Now, they do mention that the UK, US, Japan, and France will start with basic dual purpose batteries. And historic ships starting equipped with dual-purpose batteries and dual-purpose secondaries will have them. And as we've seen, they lack piercing. Okay, it's more historical things added to it, but I don't think they're going to be meta. They have added a 1940 advanced medium dual-purpose battery. I don't think this is worth much. First off, it's 1944 tech. 99% of the time, you should have won the game before you've even researched this. Secondly, it's not that good. Now, the cost we have to compare to a stat down here. They've increased the light cruiser battery 4 to 425 cost. So it is only 25 more cost, and it has the same speed penalty. So maybe you consider that worthwhile, but you can only put these on light cruisers. That is another change they've made. Actually, let's just go to that change right now. If we go to ship designer, you can no longer put medium cruiser and light cruiser guns on the same design. This is what they consider an exploit. They consider that to be an oversight in the design and an exploit, and they're going to completely remove it. Well, this is a light medium battery. Your light cruisers are not going to get targeted by enemy air attack very frequently. So there's just not a lot of value to this if you're trading off light attack in exchange for air attack or piercing for air attack, and you're trading off cost. It just doesn't seem like this is very worthwhile. They've changed hit profiles. This is pretty big. So there's two parts to hit profile. There's visibility times 100 divided by speed. That's the current formula. And then that interacts with the enemy's weapon accuracy, which is dependent on the size of their guns. Heavy guns are way less accurate than light guns. Now, they're changing that though. It's no longer going to be divided by speed. It's going to be divided by speed divided by 2. So half your speed plus 15. That is their working formula, but they're trying to flatten the effect of speed on the ability to get hit. And this is pretty significant. If we come into Excel and we compare old formula versus new formula, we use a heavy cruiser with 3 medium batteries because you can't use light anymore at 22.9 visibility. That's what it would have in the game right now. The left one is your old hit profile. This is your new one. So at 20 knots, your hit profile is now 20% less. That is huge. Your slower ships are going to be much harder to hit than in the past. So your fast ships are going to be at 40 knots up to 14% easier to hit. At 36 knots, which we'll get to, is about the maximum speed that you're going to be able to get for a cruiser, that's 9%. You're going to be taking more damage on your cruisers. It's going to be easier to hit them. This is going to make armor more important. So at the higher levels, if you can get to 36 knots, but you have enough armor that they can't quite pierce you, so you take 10% less damage, it should average itself out. So armor is going to have more value. Battle cruisers are unlikely to be very good. They've also changed hit chance. They've added a bunch of text that increase hit chance instead of increasing damage. Radar and fire control, if we go down to that, all the way down here at the bottom, instead of giving bonus damage, they give bonus hit chance. The bonus from fire control is halved, so they might be less good than they were. Spotting, they added in a base chance to spot instantly based on your spotting per day, and it can no longer be less than 0.01%, or you will always spot a task force after 417 days. That's not worth it at all. Like they could reduce that to 1,000 hours, which would be 41 days. And like then, okay, yeah, it's good. One nice thing they're going to do is we can now see surface detection and sub detection. In the fleet information, that's going to be pretty nice. You could always see maximum speed and maximum range. Not that a lot of people, I think, use this information, but it's nice to be able to see what your actual surface detection is. Fleet composition. They've made some changes to positioning penalty. 1. Positioning penalty from strike forces entering a battle. So you have ships already in the battle, you have more join. Previously, there was a 0.5 max penalty based on the number of ships that joined. That penalty basically just got removed. The max penalty is now 2.5%. It went from 50% down to 2.5%. Positioning penalty from new ships joining a battle does not need to be considered whatsoever. The max positioning penalty from higher ship ratio has also been increased. I am assuming that means the maximum penalty is increased. If we come over here and look at the math, this is based on live. If you have 10% more ships, you get minus 2.5%, and then you get minus 1.3%. So it's a percent change formula to determine how many more ships you have, and then minus 0.25 penalty per ship, and then that amount gets halved, rounded up. It rounds up, not down, it's not truncated. Both of these numbers are rounding up, and that is the number you would see in game. I'm assuming what this means is rather than capping it at 50, it'll cap at 75%, but who cares? That's still capping the penalty at minus 35%. Even if the max penalty is now minus 50%, if I'm bringing twice as many ships as you, such that I end up with the same amount of attacks as you, I have twice the HP. I'm going to do the same amount of damage as you, but you have to kill twice as many ships to win the battle, and as I lose ships, the positioning penalty is going to decline. So at 0% positioning, the max penalty currently is minus 50% for attack/screening debuff. And I think they're just making it easier to get to that by having a larger fleet, but I don't think it's going far enough to actually introduce a positioning meta. I think death stacking your navy is still going to be the best way to deal with enemy fleets. Now, one thing people are saying sub spam is dead, and that is because of this line right here, additional supremacy per ship base. Previously, you used to get 100 naval supremacy per ship base. They reduced that to 75 so that IC and manpower is more important. That is a lie. Bathtubs are still the meta. I've calculated out the supremacy per ship and then the IC cost of a whole bunch of different ships. And if we expand this out, I don't know if this is going to make it... Oh, nope, I did that the wrong way around. If we unhide this, I don't know if this is going to make it easier to compare or not, because I can zoom in a little bit, but basically I've got the table here and then I've got the table flipped the other way around. So we've got carriers, battleships, and super heavy battleships with each year, and then we've got 3 types. We've got like the fully kitted out one, the battle cruiser variant, and then an empty one, which just has 1 gun and the engine and fire control. This is the amount of naval supremacy it's going to give per IC spent. The best one is going to be the 1940 empty at 4.93%. That's the best of the regular capital ships. If we bring in the cruisers, the best one is still going to be only 4.3% under the new system. If we come down to the destroyers, all Roach destroyers are going to be over 10%. If we come down to the bathtubs, 22.29%. Literally double the destroyers, and the destroyers are over double everyone else. Just a simple calculation right here. The best one of these is this one right here, and we're looking at 4.5 times more supremacy per IC spent for a bathtub versus the best of every other ship other than destroyers. Bathtubs are still going to be the best way to get naval supremacy. Even a 1936 submarine with 2 torpedo tubes and a level 2 engine is still going to get you 15.4%, which is still 50% better than your average destroyer and at least 3 times better than all of your capital ships. So bathtub spam just to get naval supremacy, 100% viable with these changes. So ship designer, I mentioned they've gotten rid of mixing medium and light cruiser batteries, so we can't use light attack heavy cruisers anymore. This table looks really bad because they removed all the bases, right? But then you come down to the hull types, and then they just increased all of the hull types. So they really just shifted the base to the hull type, and it's not really going to be that impactful. This is a typo. It's supposed to be 32 for super heavies, but they've got a ton of penalties. Overall, more percentage-based speed. less flat speed. It should be harder to get above 35 knots on your ships, and that's their intention. They want to make it so that faster ships hover around 35 knots and that the slower ships, like the slower 1940 ships, are going to be around 30 knots, and the older ships are just not going to be very good at all. Submarines. This is the other reason why people think submarines are dead. 1940 hulls going from 15 sub visibility to 20 sub visibility. If we come into the wiki, we can see that the base for 1936 submarines is 20. So 1940 submarines are going to have the same base visibility as 1936 submarines, except for they can fit a snorkel, which will reduce their visibility by 2. I do not expect this change to get to live. I expect it to get buffed a little bit, maybe like 18. But even still, the AI is horrible at dealing with submarines. It does not fit depth charges, it does not fit sonar, so it's not even that big of a deal. You could still spam submarines, you're just going to lose a couple more. Torpedoes got nerfed, but they got an increase in hit chance. I think this is going to be a net nerf. Torpedo tubes got a straight buff because they get the hit chance modifier, but no nerf to their damage. Battleship armor now gives torpedo hit critical chance reduction and torpedo damage reduction, very historical. This is just to replicate torpedo bulges. I don't know why they weren't replicated before, but they are now. It's a nice change. According to them, it is slightly easier to hit destroyers, but slightly harder to hit slower cruisers and battleships. And they claim that death stacking is not quite so good in their tests. I highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. So what do I think? I think they just removed heavy attack light cruisers, which are the counter to light attack light cruisers. So light attack light cruisers just had their natural enemy removed from the game and are likely to be the basis of the new naval meta. Now, of course, bathtubs are going to be amazing for any miner that just needs to spam ships for naval supremacy. So if you're actually trying to fight, though, you're likely going to be using some sort of combination of light cruisers, destroyers just to sort of add a bit of screening, and then battleships designed to speed tank. The end result in my mind is that light attack light cruisers just got super buffed, because the only counter to them just got removed from the game. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.